you're there with these titans, and you've got to really give it your all.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Matt from the Gym Partners app. I'm back here with my partner, Rory. And today we have another one of our Gym Partners app users, one of our first users in the early days there, Koe King on IG. And Koe, take it away. Just give us a little brief history of, I guess, more focusing on your workout history. But interestingly enough, you are a musician, much like myself. So give us a little history if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I've always been surrounded by bodybuilding and fitness, martial arts. So even from a young age, I've been inspired and driven to take that path. Same with my music. From a young age, surrounded by listening to the greats, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, all the good stuff, the hammer of the gods. So I approach music the same way as I do with my fitness and weight training. I give it 100% and go all in.
That's awesome. So 100%, and I can't help but notice you have your Let's Get Nasty swag on there. Shout out to Leroy Davis and Anth Bales. We'll get into them a little bit more in just a little bit here. So, Koe, I have to tell you, man, I don't know. You're probably, it seems like a believer in the universe or something along that lines. Interestingly enough, I want you to take a look at what's behind me right there.
See, divine signs, they're everywhere.
Absolutely. So I don't want to, I guess I'll tell you quickly before we get too deep into this, because I have a feeling already we could talk probably for hours. What we're trying to do here, Rory and I, is especially reach out, to our users and just kind of make some virtual friends all across the world. So we're keeping these conversations fairly short, but with the idea that we can just kind of get acquainted, and it'll be an ongoing conversation that we could have you back, very soon, and just kind of touch on things here and there. So before we get too crazy, I wanted to just tell you that this does seem very divine, because I can literally trace pretty much my whole life back to the moment when I was about 9 years old, went to my dad's record collection, and I turned on the Jimi Hendrix on vinyl, Are You Experienced?
Oh.
And I heard the riff of Hey Joe. And dude, from that moment changed my life. Like, I can literally remember that moment, just playing it on repeat. And I have to ask you, because I've seen on your Instagram, you're like friends with frickin' Eddie Kramer.
Yes, Edwin Kramer, the man.
Tell us about that, please.
Well, I came to Eddie's kind of view through a band I was in. I was doing a lot of the writing for the band, the musical direction, and basically putting it all together. So this band was making a lot of headway over this side of the pond in the UK, and we were asked to meet up with a promoter. And the first thing he said is like, well, okay, you guys are like a cross between like Led Zeppelin meets kind of Jimi Hendrix meets Lenny Kravitz, but it's got a real modern vibe to it. You need to have a good engineer or producer. He said, who are you thinking of? So the first name goes ding in my head. It was Eddie Kramer. And he said, no, seriously. And I was like, did I stutter? Eddie Kramer. And he said, yeah, but that's highly unlikely. And I said, well, let's make a bet. I'll go away tonight. You go away and you ask who you think would be right for this band, but I'll go away tonight. I'll contact Eddie Kramer. And I said, and I will have Eddie Kramer. And he said, oh, well, that's high. In all my years of being in the music industry, it's highly unlikely. And I said, well, you've just showed me what you know that with that sentence. I said, I'll phone you later on tonight. So the drive back, I'm thinking, oh man, I got to try and get a hold of Eddie Kramer. I'm in trouble. So I go onto Eddie's site. He's got a photography site, and it's absolutely fantastic. The photos are magnificent. It's a history of rock and roll. It's rock and roll royalty. And I thought, there's an email. Let's ping him a message. So I sent Eddie a message with a few of the demos of my songs, And literally, after sending the message, close it down, I went over to an ex-girlfriend's house. And she was like, what have you been up to? I said, oh, well, I've just messaged Eddie Kramer. And she was laughing. I said, oh, well, hopefully he'll come back. But I said, no, he actually will come back. 5 minutes, the phone goes. It's my mother. And she said, I've just had a guy called Eddie Kramer on the phone. I said, right. She said, he's going to be ringing your number now. So pick up the phone, and there was Eddie Kramer. And he was like, listen, I love your music. I love what you're doing. And you give me the biggest compliment that, I could ever receive. He was like, you remind me, they said, there's flashes of Jimmy in your playing. And he said, there's a real power to your playing. And he said, I'd like to come over to the UK and let's record. And the rest was history. We organized it. He was going to be in London. So we booked out Abbey Road Studios, the management company that I was with at the time. It was all organized, and we had probably one of the best weeks of recording with Eddie Kramer behind the desk. And he absolute genius to watch it work. Best ears in rock and roll. And we kind of linked up because we had Eddie and I had many talks about the universe, about the sacred science, because music is one of the 7 sacred sciences. It comes from an age which is, the Antediluvian age, where it's before what we're told of modern history. But it's a real power about it. I believe that music is from the highest realms, and it's one of those things that if you can connect your conscious mind with your subconscious mind, which is linked up to your higher conscious, which becomes that Trinity, that's when you have that divine touch you. And that's how the music comes through, because, if you, it's in a way, it's music is in everything. It's in nature. It's, you hear it in the wind, you hear it in the trees, you hear it, in what the tonality of when people speak. So if you could touch into that or tap into that source of power and just be, like literally be, because we are human beings. People get that wrong. They're either human in the past or human worrying about the future. Just be a human being in that moment, and you'll find that's when creativity touches you and you connect. And luckily enough for myself, I've always had that belief of just being in the flow of things. Because if you flow naturally, it will lead you to the destination you're supposed to be at. People are always swimming against the tide. Just jump on the tide, be lazy, and let it take you there. And luckily enough, I was influenced from a young age. Like I said, when I remember hearing Band of Gypsies and Are You Experienced, and then all the Led Zeppelin albums and Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. And it was like, oh, wow, that's great inspiration. Soak it in like a sponge and then project it all out, but with your own kind of spin on it. And I found that Eddie, the way he works when he's recording, he's the same way. He said, the first thing he said to me, he said, Koe, the rule is there are no rules. So let's just go in, let's roll up our sleeves and let's flow. And watching him work, he really does go into a higher state of consciousness. And like he said, I want to look you in the eyes while you're playing. I want you to look me in the eyes when I'm in control of that board, and let's make a connection. I know mine. Do you know yours? And let's see what kind of friction we can start. You start that friction, it starts a spark. You feed that spark, it becomes a flame. You feed that flame, it becomes a raging inferno. And it was incredible.
Wow,
And
man. I've got goosebumps listening to you say some of that stuff, man, because I definitely connect with a lot of what you just said. And it's interesting you said, because I was literally on my phone, I was looking for the word that fits between pre and post, because I've been on this thing lately about the power of 3. I was literally on my phone Googling, powerof3.com and like trying to see who is really focused on that idea. And when you were speaking just now and you said the Trinity,
oh yes,
that just like touched a certain thing that I've actually been looking for the last couple days. That word was not coming to me, but the Trinity, the power of 3, the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's just like you said, it's this universal principle, of course, to bring it back to the universe. And it seems to be super powerful in the sense that I feel like moving into, we're talking about the music space, which obviously the app involves audio and music, and we'll touch on that in a little bit.
Oh,
But for
incredible.
for people that, especially, don't necessarily have the amount of experience, like the idea for this app was, of course, we're starting it with a little bit more hardcore bodybuilder type people, but the idea is to be able to touch that place in the brain of people that don't necessarily have the motivation to get up and do it. We're kind of looking to plug away a little bit deeper into people's psyches and really touch, like you're saying, the same place that music touches people on that subconscious level, and give them that spark, like you were just speaking about. Give them that spark subconsciously, where it's almost like, even if you didn't want to do it, because of what this is doing inside of you, you have to go and give it 100%. You have to go and
Oh,
really
totally.
give it your all. So, man, just hearing you say that word Trinity, I was like, yeah, man, this is definitely meant to be. That's such a killer story, dude. Like,
Yeah, it's an incredible story.
I mean, man, I'm telling you, we could talk for hours. So I'm gonna just have to be mindful of the time on this one, just so we can kind of get this introduction down. But you were one of the first guys that sent us a message, basically saying, yeah, like, the Gym Partners app is cool. I like this. Thank you for bringing Leroy Davis into the mix and being able to mix it with the audio. So would you mind just giving us a little taste of your experience using the app?
Well, the app, what can I say? It's magnificent. It's absolutely superb. I can't recommend it enough to anybody, no matter if you're into bodybuilding, if you're into cardio, swimming, whatever you're into. It's the kind of app that, like you said, you put those earbuds in and you hear the master of nasty screaming the commands. He's got such a power to his voice. It's authentic. You hear it when Leroy is shouting at Anth or Dorian or whoever he's training with or training. There is it's a pure power. He projects this authenticity, which you can't deny. So when you put that in your ear, straight away, Leroy is tapping into the subconscious and your conscious mind. And it's like he was saying before, I remember watching on the podcast, there's a part where your mind will give in before your body does. And what you need to do is be able to focus on the exercise. And then Leroy, where as you're just about to give in, when Leroy's yelling one more, or hoist it up, or squeeze it back, you then go into auto drive. And Leroy is like your subconscious mind. And he's giving you that extra shot of electricity, of power into your mind, because your mind is your most powerful muscle. Where the mind goes, the body will follow. Soon as Leroy takes over and you go into autopilot, and he's screaming, one more, drive, and then you can hear Anth, giving it 100%. There's no other option but for you to do the same. Because if you don't, you're wasting your time and you're going to let yourself down. So the app in itself, no matter what you're doing. Hey, I was walking down the street the other day and the app accidentally came on in my ears while I was walking. Man, I started walking with some power, because
That's awesome.
the way you guys have put this together with Leroy and Anth, and the ability as well to have music to sync it up to your favorite album or your favorite songs at the time, it's genius. It's absolutely genius, and it taps into that part of your minds where you can do anything. You could do absolutely anything. So if you think you're going to fail on rap number 7, most of the time you're going to give in to that pain and put it down. But when you got the master of nasty, this titan, the commander in chief, screaming, one fucking more, you're going to do 2 more, maybe 3. So
Absolutely.
this app, it's genius, and I can't recommend it enough. People, when I've been around the gym, and they'll go past me, and I'm grunting and growling away. And when I put down the bar, they'll say, what music are you listening to? And it's like, well, actually, here, let me put this in your ears. And all of a sudden, you see them jump. Because when you hear Leroy, 3, 2, 1, and drive, you see them, they go like that. And all of a sudden, they're going, they take it off. Why can I get this? And I was like, well, I lead them to the direction of where they could get it from, where they could download the app. Now, it's crazy. I go into the gym, and I'm hearing youngsters, I'm hearing people who are not hardcore screaming, one fucking more. Come on, let's go drive. And it's like I said, I could just explain it. It's got a real force to it, like fire. It's a spark, and you guys have lit that spark, which created the flame. You fed the flame, and now it's a raging inferno. So if you want to get serious about your training, or you want to get serious about walking down the street, you download this app, put it in your ears, and let it take you there. And then the beautiful thing about it, like what you guys have done, you could be listening to Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. You could be listening to anything you want. So when you're combining force and form, I believe that like when it comes to the magic of anything, you have to have force and you have to have form. The music is the force, and then you got the Master of Nasty providing the form, because he's using words which really trigger all the mind, the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the higher conscious mind. He uses the words. He's a master at it. And the words he uses, the choice of words, it just triggers that inner animal in you, which you become Spartan. You become a warrior. We're in that gym. It's the Iron Dungeon, but we're gladiators. So it's us going to war against the weights and wailing down on our muscles. And who better to have than the commander-in-chief screaming those commands at you? And like I said, when you hear Anth, when he trains, he goes all in. So when you're hearing Anth giving it his all and Leroy screaming for more, you're there. They're there with you. No matter where you are, you could be in your garage, you could be in a gym. All of a sudden, with just a touch of a button, you've got nasty Leroy Davis, you've got the freak Anth Fails, and they're your training partners. And then because it's your party, you could choose whatever music you want to listen to. It's a win-win-win. It's a Trinity.
Well, dude, man, that's by far the best explanation we've heard from any of our users. You are definitely a writer and a wordsmith for sure, my man. I appreciate that. Look, that was exactly I'll give the very short synopsis of what happened. For some odd reason, I've been into working out, bodybuilding, got into it as a teenager. And for some odd reason, I just never came across Blood and Guts until a few years ago. And I got on YouTube, fired it up, and I saw it for the first time. And I was just like, holy shit, where has this been my whole life? Where has this dude Leroy Davis been my whole life? And literally, I've told the story a few times now, but I went home that night and I came up with this little bootleg version of it. And I went to the gym the next day and I tried it in the headphones, and I had that reaction of like, and it's funny because it was the same reaction I feel like if I go back to that first time listening to Jimi Hendrix, where like you said, it's just authentic. Yes. And it just touches something inside of you where if you connect with it, you really connect with it. And I was just like, dude, this is something, there's something here, So Rory, I've, contacted Rory. He's a friend for a while now, and, computer programmer. I was like, dude, this is the first thing I've come across in my life at this phase of my life where it seems like this is actually worth putting 100% of our time and energy into. So, dude, to hear you say those words about it, I mean, it means a lot, dude. I really appreciate that.
You guys with gold.
Well, let me just quickly give you a quick little kind of insider's view, because it's funny also you mentioned whether you're working out, doing cardio. Rory and I just finally started working on the next phase of what's going to be the Gym Partners app, where if you are doing, let's say, a more cardio specific type workout, you'll be able to use the heart monitor on either your watch, or if you do a wearable heart monitor, and you'll be able to trigger clips based on what your heart rate is doing or what your speed at which you're walking, running. You'll be able to kind of work with stuff. We don't have it all mapped out just yet, but that's the next phase of what we're working on.
Sounds incredible.
So if you do want it walking down the street,
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you hear that in your ears, and you grow 10 foot tall. I'm tall anyway. I'm 6'8". But when I got that in my ears, man, I'm 10 foot tall.
Wow.
Man, that's incredible. So look, like I said, I know we could sit here and, dude, you seem I mean, like I said, we could talk for hours, dude, just the music connection alone. But just to kind of keep a little bit focus here as far as we're talking about working out, what is your current workout strategy / routine split? How are you currently approaching that, if you wouldn't mind?
Well, luckily, like you mentioned, blood and guts, the stone tablets of bodybuilding. I'm using that split at the moment, the HIT training, high intensity, and it's basically Monday, it's shoulders, traps, triceps, Tuesday, back and rear delts, Wednesday off, Thursday then, chest and biceps, Friday, leg day, 2 days off. And it's the same kind of, it's exactly the same as what you're going to see on Blood and Guts. You start your first exercise, 2 warm-ups, and then you're going to go completely to failure. That's your one working set. And this is where this app is, it's gold. It's the shot of electricity that you need. Because when you hit that working set, and then you hear him, 3, 2, 1, count you in, you're there. It's Blood and Guts. Yeah. Leroy Davis is there screaming in your ear, and you're there with these titans, and you've got to kind of step up to the mark, and you've got to really give it your all. So this app, it does that. So since I've been using this app, I've hit PBs all over the place. The first week, I PB'd everything, and it's incredible because with that kind of training, that high intensity training, you're hitting back and you're doing those knotless pullovers. So, your 2 warm-ups, and then there it is. You could plug in and Leroy's there driving you in your working set. Then your next thing, you're on the hammer pulls, and 1 warm-up and Leroy's there again screaming, let's get nasty. Then you're just there. You're knees deep. You're in the battle. And like I said, who better to be in the trenches with than Leroy Davis and Anth Bales? It's genius. I was always I used to, before going to the gym, I'd watch Blood and Guts, or I'd put on the Team Nasty videos on YouTube, and there you see it. Blood and Guts speaks for itself. You've got these 2 monsters attacking the steel. If I want the guy who trains with the 6 times Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates. I want that guy to be my training partner. And what you guys are provided for everyone that's accessible now. You could have Leroy Davis as your training partner. And, the man who's trained alongside and motivated the 6 times Mr. Olympia and Anth Bales, he knows something and he knows something. And you've brought it to basically the world where we can have that experience every time we step into the gym, every time we do cardio. It's brilliant. I always just used to kind of listen to it before going to the gym and think, oh, imagine if I could just have this in my ears. And then it was just like magic, divine timing. There it was, boom, gym apps. It's like, oh, wow, what's this? I need this. Download straight away. And it's one of the best decisions anyone can make. If you're serious about your training, I implore you, go to the site, download that app, and experience it for yourself, and you'll never look back. And thank you to you guys, and thank you to Nasty Leroy Davis and Anth Bales. It's incredible. And like I said, when you watch those videos, those Team Nasty videos, and you see Leroy, you see Anth, you see Dave McDabb, the big pale Nasty, and they're just giving it all. That's all the pre-workout you need. And then we now have got the privilege that we can have that, then we can take that with us to the gym. And I've been in situations where I'm deadlifting, and Leroy's, and pull. In my mind, Leroy's to my right, and Dorian Yates is to my left. Anth is in the front, and we're having a Team Nasty training session. And like I said, the first week I broke PBs all over the place, and I continue to do it with this app. So thank you, you gents. Can't thank you enough.
Dude. Yeah, that's incredible, man. Yeah, thank you. I think we're both thinking the same thing, man. You truly understand the app, and it's great to hear, someone out there using it like you are. We invested a lot of time into this, hoping that, maybe we could help someone reach some PBs. And thank you so much, man. It feels great.
And thank you. Thank you guys for providing this to us, because it's amazing.
Well, dude, the exact thing that I was hoping to do with this, and again, we worked on this app for man, probably 2+ years before we even contacted Leroy. And it was this whole thing of like, I really hope Leroy, kind of like you with the Eddie Kramer thing. It was like,
it kind of is.
I hope Leroy responds to this email because we've been working on this for 2 years. Yeah. And dude, again, just the universe, divine, whatever. And yeah, man, absolutely. So to hear an actual user like yourself, again, fully getting the full use out of it, because again, I had the same experience where I would listen to kind of the motivational stuff on YouTube before you go into the gym. And right, music is a big part and a big help, but I always just was kind of like, man, if only I had that with me when I was actually in a set, because I think a big part of what you touched on is the subconscious. You know, when you can turn off that conscious mind and you just kind of let Leroy take over. And the argument I used was, even if you're only using maybe 5 to 10% of your brain to tell your own story, come on, get another one, do another one, more. You're using mental energy to come up with that story, you know, even if it's just a little bit. So by being able to switch off completely and hear Leroy, and again, it's crazy. Like you really, I've told Rory, you know, the one difficulty that we have and will have with this app is you really are not going to understand it unless you experience it, you know?
Most definitely.
Yeah, so that's really, again, dude, we cannot thank you enough for telling your friends and your gym, bros and broettes out there just about the app. We really appreciate that. And again, it's just hearing these stories of people getting these personal bests, you know, the first couple times or the first week that they use the app. I mean, dude, that's just like, forget about, you know, money, downloads, whatever, just knowing that we help people achieve the next step in that staircase of their goals. I mean, dude, that's awesome. So we really appreciate it. Let me ask you one last question, dude, and we'll wrap it up just to keep it quick for this first one. What about as far as, you know, with the experiences you've had, and you seem like a very, you know, kind of experienced and thoughtful guy. What about as far as with your diet? Is there anything there that you're doing specifically, or just kind of give us a rundown of what your diet thoughts are?
Basically, it's like with anything. Eat clean, eat a lot, because you need it. You need that fuel. Like I said, as grown people, we know what's right and wrong. If you're sneaking down to the fridge to kind of stuff chocolate in your face or chocolate cake every night, that's not going to be the best fuel that you could burn your engine. But it's like with anything. It's approach your diet like you would your training. Train smart, so eat smart. Go big, so eat big. If you're wanting to put on that muscle and maintain the size. And then on the weekend, you know, when Saturday and Sunday comes, I always say, through the week my body's a temple. On the weekend it's a shed. So you know, I'm going. Have those treats. And then what happens? It boosts your metabolism. It shocks it, and it keeps you motivated. And like I said, you know, doing the blood and guts kind of split. When I've always been a big guy. Like when I first really got serious with the training, I was like 17 stone. Within a year, I was up to 20 stone. And then when this app came out, I was just like, oh, you know, yeah, put it in my ears. Man, since this app's been out, I've put on another stone. I'm 21 stone now, and I'm lean but big and strong. And it's the same way with the training. You need to do an app for you know, you could put in your ears when you go to sneak to the fridge. You've got Leroy Davis screaming at you to say, "No, put that down." You know?
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I have thought about that. That's another conversation, but I don't even want to give it away, dude. We'll have to chat about that, or maybe offline one day. But there is something kind of in our brains as far as a little bit more, let's just say generally life-centered, kind of along the lines of this app. So yeah, dude, that sounds phenomenal. Like I said, just a great way to think about a diet. You know, I think a lot of people, they just think it's like a prison sentence. You know, oh, I have to eat this, or I can't eat that. But again, it's just that mindset thing, man, that it's in my later years now has become such a big, important thing is mindset, you know? So is there anything there just to kind of close it out as far as mindset that has been helpful for you over the years?
Oh, most definitely. When it comes to mindset, which is another thing. When I was I've watched Blood and Guts, God knows how many times, and the Team Nasty videos. I've always thought to myself, the way Leroy approaches things, he comes at it with the mind of a martial artist. There's a real strict discipline. So I'm a martial artist myself. I do Kyokushin. And I was thinking to myself, he's got that mindset of a warrior, like a samurai. And then, when I found Leroy's Instagram handle and I noticed his sons as well, they are martial artists. They're black belts in Wado-ryu karate.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. So Leroy touched upon something when you guys interviewed himself and Anth, where that it's more than just sheer will, it's discipline. So if you can combine that force and form, your will, with discipline and focus. Hey, we sound a bit like John Wick there. He's a man of focus, and commitment and sheer will. Well,
love it.
There's a Trinity again. So combine that force, that focus, and your sheer will, and that mind of yours is the most powerful gift and tool that you have. Like Einstein said, with the imagination is the human's most powerful tool, because if you can see it and you believe it, well, guess what? You will receive it. So all you have to do is just keep that focus. It's quite easy. It's quite simple. It's one of those things where when you start to train your mind, your conscious mind, to give your subconscious mind commands, you'll go into autopilot and it'll just become natural. It'll become completely natural to you, as natural as breathing. So it's not hard. If we touch upon a point we made earlier, that we're human beings. So just be. So be in that moment. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. And you find in simplicity there's genius.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. So, Rory, did you have any last questions for Koe here?
So are you going to do the co-pack for us? Because, man, you have a lot of the elements you were saying. I mean, you have a great vocal sound. You have a great energy about you, man. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, man, you seem like a great guy. And perhaps a co-pack. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Koe, we may have to actually have to talk about that a little bit, man. That would be awesome. So, look, I did have one last question for you. This has been phenomenal, man. I didn't really know what to expect when we got on with you, but like I said, dude, I don't even drink, but I feel like I want to have a beer with you. You know what I mean? Like,
it's intoxicating when the energy is right and it hits and it's divine and there's a connection. It's intoxicating, and it becomes that element which is water. You start to flow, and then it's the most powerful conduit in this realm.
That's awesome.
We've got the same kind of interests: music, working out. Leroy Davis, Anth Bales, Dorian Yates. It's a win-win, man.
Absolutely. So, okay, I wanted to leave you on this last final question, and we'll wrap it up here. If you wouldn't mind, because we're such music-centric dudes, what is or are some of your favorite tunes that you're listening to as far as music when you're working out?
Wow, I could give you a breakdown. Leg day, Appetite for Destruction. You need that rock and roll aggression. Back day, well, it depends on back day. I'm hitting a bit of Led Zeppelin 4. Houses of the Holy, Physical Graffiti. When it comes to chest, well, give me some Van Halen. Where it's party time. Chest day is everyone's favorite day,
right?
And it's one of those things with the app. The app gives you the opportunity to listen to whatever you want, to drive you, to put you in that mindset, give you that motivation, along with Leroy and Anth. That every time you use this app, I guarantee you, if anyone's listening to this and you're thinking, oh, should I get? Yeah, definitely get the app. Experience it. You will never regret it, and it'll take your training and basically, your approach to anything to the next level. It'll make you a better version of yourself, the best version of yourself that you can be in that moment. It's incredible. So you guys, what you've done is, I can't thank you enough. And to have the Master of Nasty and Anth Bales as well, two legends, for them to be involved in this, it's a perfect package. It really is. It's a perfect circle.
Well, man, we can't. Hey, I'm glad you said a perfect circle, because I haven't listened to them in quite a while either. But one of my favorite bands also. So thank you for mentioning that. Well, dude, this has been so great. I know Anth and Leroy are going to be super, super excited to hear some of your thoughts about the app and their involvement with it. And dude, again, we cannot thank you enough for coming on here and chatting with us. We will definitely be back in touch with you for a round 2 very soon. We appreciate you taking the time. And man, again, thanks for all the kind words about the app. We really appreciate it.
Listen, thank you. It's been an honor, guys, and a privilege. And you know what you guys do, just keep on doing what you're doing, because it's you've caught lightning in a bottle, and it's incredible. And like I said, you know, to Anthony, Leroy, Team Nasty stuff, guys. Hardcore clothing is amazing. If you want to look good while you train, get your Team Nasty hardcore clothing in.
Team Nasty.
It's been a pleasure,
life.
man.
Absolutely, man. All right, Koe. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.
Have a good one, guys.
All righty. Peace out.